Hey guys, it's Amber, and I am going to talk to you about how to get started with your Instant Pot. I hear time and time again, people leave it in the box, they're afraid of it, they are intimidated by it, but they eventually get it out and they love it and wish they hadn't waited so long. So I'm going to show you a few simple things today that you can do right away. As soon as you get it out of the box and start using it so that you will start loving your Instant Pot. So this model is a 6-quart Duo 7-in-1, and I actually already have this model. This one is a brand new one that I'm going to show you today. I'm going to take it out of the box and just show you a few simple things so you can get started, and just so that you get to familiarize yourself with all the buttons, how it works, how it sounds. I'm going to show you just a simple way to get started. So you've got everything out of the box now, and I highly recommend that you look over your user's manual. Also comes with a recipe book you can glance through, and then just some simple things, little charts that you can look at for a quick reference. So those are things to definitely take a look at, especially the safety precautions and how to use your Instant Pot. I highly recommend looking through all of that. But in order to get it all ready to go, you need to first wash your lid and your seal or gasket. This is sometimes referred to. This is removable. You will eventually replace these, have multiple of these, but this is your seal and this is your pot lid. So you'll need to wash those hot soapy water. And also your pot or your inner liner. This is stainless steel, and just get that nice and washed and ready to go. Dry it really, really well all the way around before you stick it in your pot. You don't want any moisture or condensation inside this part of the pot. This is your Instant Pot. This is your housing. It has your display. It's going to plug in. You've got your cord here. Some models, the cord is removable, some it is not, so just depending on the model that you have. And then on the back here, you will put your condensation cup in right here. So just click that on, and this will build up condensation from the lid, so over time this will get kind of full of liquid and it can get kind of gross, so make sure you're checking that regularly and cleaning that out. You don't want to be growing anything funky. And then another thing on your lid here is this little guard. This comes, whoops, try that again. This comes on and off, and this prevents splatters and things coming through when you release the steam. So you do want to make sure that it's on, but it is nice that it's removable if you need to clean that out. So when you put your ring inside, you'll just press that ring down all the way. Make sure it's seated in there correctly. That will ensure that your pot seals and comes to pressure. These do wear out. They can start to retain some odor, and so they can be dishwashed on the top rack. So can your lid, and so can your inner pot, but you never want any liquid inside this main housing. So hand wash or upper rack dishwash. And then this little knob comes right on top is where that goes. This is your sealing or venting knob, your vent knob. So this is going to fit loosely. Again, this is also removable. People get kind of nervous when this kind of fits a little bit loose. It kind of wiggles. Remember the thing that used to sit on grandma's pressure cooker that kind of wiggles? Yeah, kind of like that. This won't be moving a lot, but you will see steam coming out of this when you use your pot. If a recipe calls for pressurized cooking, you're going to always set that knob towards sealing. And when you go to release pressure, you're going to turn that knob carefully because steam will be coming out. and you'll be venting the steam. Sometimes you'll be doing that right after you cook. Sometimes you'll be letting that naturally release for a few minutes, or sometimes entirely, and then the pot can be open. This float valve here is a little pin, you can see that, but it's a little pin inside that will raise up and down when the pot seals. So when it's built up enough pressure inside, this pin will pop up and stay locked until the pot depressurizes, and once that's depressurized, the pin will then drop down, and you can tell then it's okay to open your pot safely. You never want to force your lid, you never want to wiggle on it or push on it. And they also don't recommend that you cover your valve with anything to prevent splatters. 2 things: don't overfill your pot, or just kind of release this slowly. If you are releasing something kind of foamy, maybe pasta or something, you can just kind of turn this a little bit and release it a little bit at a time versus one big swoop. That will release the pressure. So the last couple things are your measuring cup that comes with it. This is great for like your rice and your grains. You want to use equal parts for a lot of recipes with this measuring cup. So like say jasmine rice, you would use this cup and the equal part of water, so that you're getting the right ratios. And then there's some great little spoons and things for rice and different things you can use. A few little things that come in handy, or this little apparatus here can be used to turn your knob. So if you don't want to release this with your hand, you could of course wear an oven mitt. You could use the spoon handle, and that would keep your fingers away from that vent knob. So that's handy. Both of those have that. And then your pot also comes with a trivet. So this would be used inside your inner pot to keep things off the bottom of the pot. So like if you're doing some meats and you don't want things to scorch on the bottom and you want to have the liquid, or if you're going to use another dish or pot inside, you would set it on this and then your liquid would go in. So I'm going to put this all together and we're going to do the initial water test. All right, we are going to do our initial test run. If you need to, follow along with the instructions in your user's manual, but this will get you familiarized with all the buttons and all the sounds. So we're gonna put 3 cups of water in our pot. Always make sure that your inner pot is in before you dump food or water into the pot. I've heard of a lot of people accidentally dumping stuff in and their pot's liner is not in. So come up with a system, put a towel over it, or put your lid upside down on the pot, something so that you know that your pot's maybe in the sink, needs to be washed. Having 2 inner liners comes in really handy for that reason. You can always put one in there if one's in the fridge for yogurt or other things. So just come up with a system that works for you so that you don't accidentally ruin your pot. Once your water is in, of course, my plug is attached. I'm gonna put the lid on here. I'm gonna line up my arrows. Hear it? Kind of sing to you here. Lock it in place by turning it. You can see the arrows here. Vent knob needs to turn to the sealing position. And then we are going to use the pressure cook button or the manual button. If you see a recipe that calls for the manual setting, then use this pressure cooking function here. So press that, and then your plus or minus buttons are going to allow you to change the cooking time or the cycle that you're going to use. So for this, we're going to toggle it to 2 minutes and we're going to leave it alone. Once that has not been touched for 10 seconds, the pot will beep. It will tell you that it's on and that the process has started. Once that has turned on, the pot is going to come up to pressure. So depending on what you're making, things with thinner liquids, soups, stews, those are all going to come to pressure faster. Things with thicker liquids, those things take a little bit longer. So don't be alarmed if this says on and it's not doing anything for a while. It takes just a few minutes. This will be pretty quick because we're just doing water. Same thing when you're doing like hard-boiled eggs. Comes to pressure pretty quickly. When it does, the display will read 2 minutes in this case, and of course count down until the 2 minutes is complete. When that's complete, the pot will beep again, letting you know that the cooking cycle is complete. That way, if the recipe calls for you to release your steam or your pressure, then you can do that manually. And when this is complete, I will show you how to do that. Okay, our 2-minute cook cycle has just completed, and you can see this is reading 0 because it just finished, but it will start to count up now that the pot has switched to the keep warm function. So if a recipe calls for maybe 5 minutes of natural pressure release, you would wait till the display reads 5 minutes, and then you would release your pressure. Again, you can use one of your spoon handles if you are a little worried. You can place that on there and turn. You can turn it a little bit at a time. It's a little noisy, so bear with me. And this is going to release all of the steam. I usually just use my fingers. This will take just a few minutes, and it's a little noisy, especially when you're sitting right next to your pot, but you do want to be sure never to cover that valve, never put your face or your hands close to that steam. This will continue to release until that float valve depresses, and then your lid is safe to open. Another note is your pot here just gets warm. It's just warm to the touch. The top of your lid, however, gets very, very hot, so be sure if you have little ones or just if you're not, careful, it says on the top, don't touch, and that's because it gets very hot. So be very careful with your pot the first time you're using it. Use the handle, and but you can touch the outside of the pot. You never want to move the pot when it's in use. That's another safety thing. That pin just dropped down. It kind of clicked a little bit, so now it is safe to open our pot. So, still pretty hot and steamy, obviously. A lot of people don't realize right away, but your lid fits right in the handle, so it's a great place to store it. You can also turn it upside down, but if you're serving and maybe wanting it on and off to keep food warm, you can just keep it there and keep putting it back on. Speaking of things keeping them warm, I'm going to show you just a few accessories that I really like. First is a lid. You probably already have one of these. You might have one that fits your pot. Just check your kitchen. If not, you can get one on Amazon. That is for if you're slow cooking, keeping something warm after you've cooked, or yogurt function. That comes in really handy. Another thing I really like are egg bite molds. These are great for pancake bites, brownie bites. Love them for eggs. You can put all kinds of toppings, things you would enjoy like in an omelet inside with your scrambled eggs. Cook them in there and they make for super quick, great breakfasts. I love having extra rings on hand. These do retain odor, especially with foods like cumin, spices, chili powder, things like that. Those foods will make your ring kind of stinky. I do have some tips on that in the Instant Pot Beginner's Guide on my blog. The different colors come in handy when you're cooking savory foods, sweet foods. The worst thing is if you were to cook like a pot of chili and have cumin or something strong in there, and then the next day maybe you want to make some yogurt, that flavor could potentially transfer. So a few things to keep these clean are just hot soapy water and air dry them. Just take them out of the pot and let them dry. Some people recommend even hanging them outside for just a little bit in the sunshine. Something you can do if you don't have maybe like animals around, but or just keep a few extras on hand. When they do wear out, they can become loose fitting, they can tear a little bit. You'll want to throw them away and get new ones anyways. I love my lid, my silicone lid here. This is great. It fits my inner pot, and that's not a real tight fitting lid. It doesn't really need to be, but it just kind of goes on as so. And that is great for leftovers if you're keeping something in the pot, and if you have maybe multiple inner liners, or if you're making yogurt, storing it in the fridge, maybe meal prepping, getting some stuff ready and keeping it in the fridge so that it's ready to go the next day. That comes in very handy. I have a steamer basket that I love, has a little handle on it. This has its own legs built in, so water in the bottom. Fill this full of veggies to steam, or eggs for hard boiling. You can fit more than a dozen eggs in this, so this is one of my favorite things. I use that a lot. Also, a springform pan. This is a 7-inch springform pan. This would sit in your pot, again, on your trivet that came with it. And this is great for lasagna or cheesecakes, desserts, breads, different things that you want to be able to take the sides off and take it out. This also came, and I've not used it yet, but it came with the bundt pan option as well. So that all kind of comes together. And that is a 7-inch to be used in the 6-quart. You can use a little bit bigger one. If you have an 8-quart, you might already have one that fits. But the 7-inch lasagna, it's pretty thick. It's perfect for my family and just to have like one day of leftovers, so you're not eating lasagna all day, which is kind of nice. So if you enjoyed all these tips, please share this video with your other Instant Pot users, maybe new users that got Instant Pots for Christmas this year. And there is a 12-page beginner's guide to the Instant Pot on my blog available. It includes recipes and a recipe blank template that you can write down recipes as you try them, make notes. You may tweak and change things like my husband and I like to do. And so you can write down things, which is great to keep track, and you can keep those recipes in a binder. It has all the tips and tricks that I have learned so far, and a bunch of resources all in one place for you, so you don't have to go searching the internet. You can find that at hollishomestead.com. And I hope you appreciate the Instant Pot Beginner's Guide and this quick video. Thanks. Happy cooking.